whoever's leading the JSA at the moment.
Real superhero stuff.
Sylvester's great, but
He has a temper.
Whoever did this, they're gonna pay!
Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done a little bit ago with Stargirl Season 3, Episode 4, called The Evidence. As you all know, that for people that have been here a part of my channel before, you guys know that I do my annual every Wednesday Stargirl Season 3 pre-show lives that start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Today I had my Season 3 Episode 4 pre-show live for Stargirl. My sister Annie ended up coming into the live, and same with my little brother Mason. That was very fun for me to have Mason come on stream because he wanted to say hi to you guys, so that was really cute of him to come down. But also, it turns out that I said at the end of the stream that I would see you guys next Wednesday, next week. But it turns out we actually won't have episode 5 of Stargirl, won't premiere until October 5th, which is a bummer. I mean, that's I think that's next. No, wait a second. October. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the calendar right now. Yeah, we have some time until October 5th. So that kind of does bum me out that I won't be seeing you guys to continue my pre-shows lives, and also to continue my episode spoiler reviews for Season 3 of Stargirl until October 5th comes around. So that will be a couple of weeks until I see you guys again for Stargirl, until we pick back up for episode 5. But I feel like episode 5 is going to be very awesome, which I will be putting probably the episode 5 teaser up at the end of this video. I'll be putting it up, or I'll probably put it up at the beginning, depending on how I feel. But that episode 5 promo looks amazing. I'm super excited, especially because, you know, we're going to talk into what's going to be going into episode 5, which I'm super excited about. But to start off this episode, of course, we have Cameron living with his, it looks like Cameron's still living in his father's place, and I'm pretty sure Jordan's parents lived in the house with Cameron and also Jordan. So of course we see Cameron. You know, he picks up the snow globe, which we've seen in the promo for today's episode, and it has Courtney and the snow globe, and it looked like he was just trying to control his powers, because as we can clearly tell since episode, I think, 3, that his powers are they're manifesting in, they're coming in right now, and it seems to be he really can't control them. It seems like when he has these anger outbursts and he just can't control them, it's like he's scared. I don't know if it's because he's scared and doesn't know what's going on, and that's why he can't control them, or that's just a part of his powers that he just can't, that his anger makes his powers very chaotic. But I'm excited to see where that will go going forward. But, you know, we see how, like, when he was picking up the snow globe, and I was like, okay, he's probably he wants to control it around Courtney, because in episode 3, he had to leave Courtney because he was afraid he was going to hurt Courtney, so he had to leave. So me thinking, when he picked up the snow globe, even though in the promos, they're, like, even in general, they're making Cameron feel very stalkerish of Courtney, which we were talking about in my live stream. People have been mentioning that they can't stand how, like, the promos and how, like, every little bit of, trailers or promos or anything make Cameron look like he's a stalker of Courtney. And I totally agree with that. It's a little bit weird how, like, he, like, feels very, like, stalkerish of Courtney and very obsessed with Courtney. So it is very weird how they're making it feel like he's very obsessed with her. But, you know, I was taking it as that, like, how he wants to control himself, like, around this one person, which is Courtney, the one he loves. So, of course, he wants to make sure he was able to control his power. So, of course, he grabs a snow globe, seeing if he can make snow around her without, you know, freezing the thing. But he, of course, freezes it. He ends up dropping it, ends up shattering, and he's kind of like, oh, shit, how am I supposed to be around the one person I love if I'm just gonna, if I'm gonna hurt her? So, it's kind of like in the headspace of, like, you know, his grandparents come in, say that, oh, you know, it's going to take some time for you to learn how to control your abilities. And it's kind of like, you know, they were telling him, I guess, that this power has been in their families for generations. And it's kind of like already right away I was like, what are they trying to make him do, or what's the path that they're trying to send Cameron down? But I was like, okay, I've been theorizing that of course they're probably gonna tell him what he needs to know, not all the information, but just what he needs to know about how like Jordan, his father, was killed, and he was killed because he was on a mission to like he had a mission of stuff that he was trying to do, of trying to make this a perfect world or something. I don't even remember what Jordan's mission was, but make it the perfect America or something, like something that he wanted, something that was fitting to him or whatever. So I knew right away that his grandparents were probably going to make him follow down his father's footsteps. So I was like, oh shit, like this isn't good. And I was like, I wonder how much he does know, because at that point I was like, oh my god, does he know about the JSA? Does he know about the JSA killing his father? Does he know that his father had a group which was the ISA? How much does he know? But we get that later in the episode of how much he knows. But of course, we go from there right into Courtney is, of course, asleep at this time, and this takes place right after Sylvester went out and didn't take the staff, and he's going to look for more clues at the gambler's trailer. He's trying to look for some more clues because right now they're at a dead end. They don't really know what's going on. So they thought, okay, he's like, okay, maybe they missed something. Maybe I should go back to the murder site and see if I can find anything. Because in his head, he's like, okay, usually the murderers go back to their main source of the site that they murdered somebody. So he's like, maybe I could go back there and find something. And of course he left the staff behind because he was like, okay, it's Courtney's turn to have the staff. It's not my turn. I'm going to go without the staff. And at this point, we all know what happened. Sylvester got picked up, got dropped. I thought he was dead. So, the staff, Cosmo's like trying to wake up Courtney saying, look, Sylvester's not back yet. There's a problem. I need you to go figure out where he is. I feel like something is wrong. And of course, the staff takes Courtney all the way to Sharp's trailer, and then that's when she ends up finding Sylvester pretty much, lying there, like, lifeless, essentially. But I guess he had a pulse, of course, because we end up seeing the moment where, like, we're in the hospital right now. Pat's there, Courtney's there, and right away they're kind of in the asking Bridget, which is Beth's mother, saying, okay, what happens or whatever, or saying like what condition is he in? She's like, I guess I forget what she said, like, oh, he's stable now, but he has a lot of wounds right now, you know what I mean, like, he's very badly damaged right now. And Courtney's like, why would he go out there without backup? And then Pat's like, that's just what, Sylvester does, you know what I mean? He's someone that's always done that or whatever. And of course, Courtney's like, why didn't he take the staff? And Pat's like, it wasn't his turn, he knew the rules, you know what I mean? He wanted to follow the rules. He knew it wasn't his turn, and he wanted to go without the staff. And she's like, we have to rearrange our agreement because, she feels guilty at this point that Sylvester didn't take Cosmo, even though, she was like, I would rather him take it just to keep him safe if he was going to go back there and then not take it out at all because I wasn't using it. And you know what I mean? It's like she feels guilty about the rules that she made about Cosmo and feeling like she felt responsible that was because of her. And that really made me feel bad. I was like, damn, Courtney. I was like, you really shouldn't feel bad about this because it really wasn't your fault. You know what I mean? How'd you know this was going to happen? You know what I mean? It's like it just was a little mess up on Sylvester's behalf. Sylvester didn't even know the whoever did the murder of Gambler would even come back. So it's kind of like, I love when, Bridget's mom did come in though. And she's saying like, oh, like, I already told, like, because Pat's like, okay, now people are definitely going to know that since it's the same wound, that there is a serial killer on the loose right now. Like, there's somebody like that's literally killing people around Blue Valley. And of course, Bridget's like, no, I made everybody say that this was a car accident, that this was a car crash. And then Courtney's like, I would have said, or I would have said like, oh, I just, you smashed right into a tree or something, or you did something, instead of you saying whatever, like it was a whatever. I forget what Bridget said, but because the first one was about the whole like wreckage of the Gambler's trailer was that there was a tornado. And by the way, I feel like people really weren't believing that, but to say that it was something else, like, oh, I forget what, but I think Courtney maybe suggested, oh, like car accident, I ran into a tree or something happened to a tree, saying that instead. And Bridge is like, should I not have said that? And then Pat's like, it's okay, or whatever it'll do for right now, so we can figure out who was the one killing people around Blue Valley. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I really had no clue probably who the hell was doing this until the end of this episode. I was like, who the hell is doing this? Because mind you, my only suspect on the top of my head has been Cameron, because I was like, okay, he's unstable, his powers are coming in right now, his grandparents are trying to send him on this mission. Who's to say that this mission isn't to take out all of the ISA for failing Jordan? Who's to say that? Because they can manipulate, Cameron and tell him the things that they want Cameron to hear, and leave the stuff out that they don't want Cameron to hear, to make him lose track of what Jordan's mission was, of what his father's mission was. So I was like, it's possible. But my sister's theory is that, it has to be Cindy. Cindy's the one that's doing this. And in a way, I was like, because the things that were pointing at Cindy doing this with, it being a stab wound, not a gunshot wound, and Rick and Yolanda saying, of course, a stab wound like Shiv. And, of course, Cindy taking the computer. There was a lot of things going against Cindy, especially with her arm being hurt. And I was totally, in a way, like, I don't think Cindy's doing this. I think she's really trying to reform. I feel like, there's something wrong with her. Like, she's sick or something. That's why she's trying to get in the trying to get into the Dragon King files, her father's files on the Gambler computer, is because, there's something wrong with her, and she needs to find out what's in the files, so that way she can try to, save herself. That's what my theories have been. Who knows if they're correct or not, because she's been trying out different vials. Her arm has been acting up. Who knows? I'm not quite sure why she's been doing it, other than the fact of me putting my head together, like thinking, okay, she might be sick. Maybe since her father kind of like did so many experiments on her and used her as a guinea pig, maybe she needs this stuff to survive. Who knows? But, we get to the point of this episode where, we're still trying to figure out who the hell is the one doing this. And mind you, I'm thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, it must be Cameron. It must be Cameron. So, of course, after this, what's going on? We see Sylvester wake up. And Sylvester's, of course, talking to Courtney. And Courtney's in there. And she's like, why would you go out without Cosmo? He's like, it wasn't my turn. And he's like, next time. She's like, I'd rather have had you have Cosmo, to protect you out there than you not having it at all. Maybe we should fix our agreement. And mind you, at this state of the mind, like, Sylvester is kind of like at peace with the fact of kind of like thinking, I've screwed up so many times. Maybe this should be it. Like, I've never gotten the jump on me before, like that before. I've never gotten hurt like that before. No one's ever snuck up on me like that before. And, I feel like this might be time. And, when he's in there, talking to Courtney, Pat brings in at this point, because they're trying to figure out, because Courtney asks Sylvester, okay, like, did you see who hurt you? And Sylvester's like, I didn't see who hurt me. I don't know who it was, because no one's ever gotten the jump on me like that before. I thought I might need the staff. And that's when, we have Dr. Mcknighter come in, which that was a shock to me. I really didn't expect we would see Dr. Mcknighter in this episode, but we did. And of course he was telling, saying, like, it was a really nice moment to see Sylvester and Dr. Mcknighter see each other once again. And of course, Dr. Mcknighter's there to see what's going on with, Sylvester's wounds, and maybe who's behind all these killings, because they have no clues who's doing it. And if anybody can figure it out, it's Dr. Mcknighter, with, of course, the glasses he has, and how he's able to, like, pick up, certain key details of clues and things to figure out who's behind things, because that was like his like job like in the JSA is like with the goggles. He was able to like find out where people were, find out some information on people, or find out clues about stuff that's been going on. So he comes in to help them figure out the mystery of who the hell is killing people around Blue Valley. And we actually get an insight on how Sylvester is alive, because we see Dr. Mcknighter scanning Sylvester about his wounds, but he's healing very quickly. And of course, Dr. Mcknighter's like, damn, you're actually healing like really quickly than you should. You know what I mean? And that's when he's like, I think that, that the cosmic staff has been that like imbued you with powers. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of like the radiation from the staff has like, it's changed your DNA. It's like, it's making you heal. And I think when you died, the staff, gave you so much power for you using it as long as you did. It's like affected your DNA. And I mean, of the radiation, I think that you were in a stasis healing all those years. And that's why you are alive again, because you were in stasis and you've used the staff for so long. It kind of gave you, it like you sucked, it gave you powers, kind of like how Jade, she doesn't need the lantern to power up her ring. She is the lantern. Kind of like how like she is the lantern, you're getting you're sucking up the energy from the staff for you using it as long as you have. And right away I was thinking, okay, that's going to happen to Courtney, because Courtney, the longer she uses the staff, the more it's going to change her DNA, where she probably won't die either because of how much she uses the staff. Or maybe since that's a key like point of us now knowing that, and maybe us kind of seeing the difference between Sylvester having kind of like these anger bursts and stuff and kind of acting a little bit different. Maybe this will be kind of like, okay, they might have to like, you know, when Pat finds that out, which I'm not sure if Pat knows about that yet, maybe when Pat finds that out and sees how far Sylvester will go, maybe of like, you know, losing himself from what we could see in the episode 5 promo of him being very angry. Maybe this is the result of him being exposed to Cosmo for so long. You know what I mean? Him coming back to life. Maybe it's actually bad for a person to use Cosmo as much as they do the staff. You know what I mean? Maybe it's bad for you to do that. Maybe Pat will say, Courtney, you can't use this if you're going to turn into this. And it's going to change who you are. You can't use the staff anymore. So I'm excited to see where that's all going to go, because it's clearly that the staff has changed Sylvester's DNA, and who knows if it's even in a good way, because of the way he's been acting acting lately in the show since he's been back, and also acting in the promo of episode 5 where he's like having the anger outbursts about finding out, you know, and just losing his mind and stuff like that, or just losing control. And so I'm excited to see where that's all going to go, because that's kind of like up in the air of like, maybe it's actually bad to have that much, you know, to use the cosmic staff for that long and have that change your DNA and have that kind of like you're sucking up the energy and you're taking in all the energy. Maybe that's bad for you. And we're going to find out later in the series, but I'm super excited to see where that will go. But I'm also excited that we actually have an answer on why Sylvester came back, since Dr. Mcknighter came back. And it's kind of like, okay, it's for the fact of how long you've been using the staff. That's why it changed your DNA. And you were kind of in the stasis of healing, you know what I mean, from all the energy that you gotten from Cosmo. That's why you are alive right now. And it's kind of like, you know, he's like, how's your life been? And then, of course, Dr. Mcknighter's like, you know, yeah, my wife's still alive. I have my kid, and you know, I'm a doctor still. You know what I mean? I'm a doctor, and you know what I mean. I have a life now. And he's like, are you happy with your life, Sylvester? And Sylvester kind of like was sitting there quiet, because he's really not. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's moved on. Even these villains are moving on, and he's realizing that. And he's kind of like at the point of realizing, you know, saying, you know, I maybe I should move on, because you know, everybody's moved on, and you know, and he's like. Sylvester asked Dr. Mcknight, saying like, hey, like, do you miss being Dr. Midnight? And of course, you know, Dr. Mcknighter's like, no, I don't, because, you know, I'm happy with leaving that in the past, and, you know, and passing it down to Beth Chapel. Like, I have all the faith of that Pat is teaching them what they need to know to lead a new, you know, era of JSA. So he's kind of like, and Sylvester taking that as like, wow, like, you know, everybody's been moving on, but the one thing I didn't do was I came back, and I should have just gave her the staff and left it the way it was, left her with the staff for her to be the new, you know, Stargirl, and let her lead the new JSA. And, you know, I should have just left it all in the past and moved on, like everybody, like you and how these other villains are moving on. And that's kind of like the concept of this episode is kind of like him getting like that villain or whoever getting the jump on him, almost killing him, and him getting the second chance and seeing all of his, like, his one, you know, friends move on to have a wife and a kid and a job. And you know what I mean, and seeing these villains reform and trying to find their place in the world, he's kind of like, I need to move on. I should have done the right thing and just gave the staff to Courtney and moved on and left Starman in the past. And it's kind of like that's what he's thinking when he's healing. And you know what I mean, he apparently the doctor, which is of course Bridget, said, you know, Starman, that Sylvester couldn't have beer, he needs to recover. And of course, you know, he's in the basement, and I guess his fridge is stocked up with juice, and that was very funny. Because Sylvester's like, oh, kill me or whatever, since it's like, wow, like I really am, like, he said something like, oh wow, I guess, you know, I really should have been dead or whatever. I really feel dead now that I can't have my beer and stuff like that. So he's kind of like bummed out that he can't have beer and his fridge is stocked with juice, even though that'd be badass. That'd be awesome to have a fridge stocked with juice. That'd be cool. I would be chill with that. But, you know, I really do love the fact of, like, you know, they're sitting in the basement, they're kind of living their old times, they're watching a Clint Eastwood movie, I think, and, you know, and they're saying the lines of the movie, And I'm pretty much sure it's Pat and Sylvester's favorite movie, or maybe it's just Sylvester's favorite movie, and Pat's there to kind of like to comfort him and kind of like relive the past a little bit. And you know, he's like saying the lines on the screen of what Clint Eastwood's saying, and he's like, "Oh, Pat, no, you don't say the lines, I say the lines." And he's like, "Okay, then what lines can I say?" And he's like, "You say you just no, you don't say any lines. You just sit there and act scared when I'm saying these lines." And, you know, I love when Crusher comes in and Crusher's like, oh, like, you know, they're like said, "Oh, I heard you got your ass kicked," or whatever. And then of course Pat's like, "Well, what are you doing in here?" And of course Sylvester, being Sylvester, he grabs Cosmo and getting ready to fight, and he's like, "No, dude, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to, you know, give you some. I'm here to bring over a 6-pack of beer and seeing you if you want to have a beer or whatever." You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because I really know, like, because you know what I mean. I know that you have that good right. You know, like, he was pretty much trying to like hype him up, make him feel better about getting his ass kicked, saying, you know, you know what I mean. He's like, now you know how it feels. You know what I mean? I got my ass kicked by you 24/7 back in the day, and you know, we used to be afraid when, you know, we used to like we knew it was gonna be game over when you showed up. Like, we were afraid when me and Tigress were going out there doing things. We knew when you showed up it would be game over, and you know, we know you have a really good mean right hook or whatever. He's pretty much trying to hype Sylvester up, trying to make him feel better, which was really cool to see that like bonding moment of like Sylvester actually kind of like getting where Courtney's coming from, of how that people can change. That was a really beautiful moment to see. You know, like he said, you know, before you leave or whatever, he's like, you know, once you have one with me or whatever. And that was really nice, because it's like the one person that said, you know, Pat was saying that he couldn't have beer. And, you know, and then here comes Crusher coming over to be like, "Oh, you can have a beer, you know what I mean? You need a, you know what I mean? You deserve it," or whatever. And having that moment of them kind of bonding about how he got his ass kicked, him and Tigress, making him feel better about how good he is, even though he just got his ass beat and stuff like that. I just thought it was a nice moment to be like, yeah, you know how now you know how it feels to get beaten up and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It just felt nice to see how he's kind of like, wow, they're not so bad after all. He's kind of like seeing where Courtney's coming from a little bit. That's at least where I kind of like thought he was coming from. And so we saw that promo, which again, I feel like it must have something to do with the more he uses the staff, maybe the more it's not good for him, because he's been using the staff for so long. And you know what I mean? And he was dead for a while. So I don't know, maybe that's something to do with it too. But I don't know, there was just a really nice moment. I feel like that was a very highlight of this episode, was that, has seen Crusher and Sylvester kind of get along for a little bit. And seeing, you know, it was funny because I forget what Pat said. Pat's like, "Oh, like I forget what he said, like, oh, you know, if you want to stay with us, you know, we're watching a movie or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, really, that movie?" And he like chugs the beer and breaks it on his head. He's like, "I'm in." So it was a really cool moment. And of course we go to Barb, and of course, you know, we go back to that one dude that was being rude to Barb, and we know that Paula talked to that dude and kind of scared the shit out of him to make him be nice to Barb, which was really nice to see that one dude kind of agree with Barb about opening up that park, since a lot more families are coming into Blue Valley, and they kind of want like a nice place where people can like chill out, and like a nice parking area. So that was really cool that, you know, it's like that Barb is trying to open up a new park for everybody, a new picnic place where people can, you know, have picnics and do things. And I just thought that was really cool. And you know what I mean, that Barb really cares a lot about, you know, Blue Valley, and that one dude isn't being an ass for once. The fact that Paula made Barb's life a little easier at work. And I just thought that was cool when Paula, you know, came in, and Paula's like, "Oh, how's that one dude that was treating you bad?" And I'm shocked that Barb didn't catch on to the fact of like, oh, Paula scared the shit out of him to make him treat you well. But of course, you know, Barb's probably like, "Oh, fine with me. I mean, I don't have that dude being a jerk anymore. He's kind of, you know, treating me with respect, so I'm okay with that," or whatever. So I just thought, I like the dynamic between how Crusher is trying to, you know, is like really finding his own with Pat and Sylvester, and like making his own friends, and Paula found a friend in Barb, and to pretty much to thank Barb for her helping, she was trying to fit into her, I forget what kind of club it was, a Rotary club. You know, she made her like Barb this weird, I forget what creature it was. It was like some sort of animal, like stuffed animal, that Barb could put on her desk, which is very disturbing. I was like, did Tigress kill that animal and stuff that animal to give to Barb, or did she buy that animal? She said she made it, so I'm thinking she must have killed the animal and then gave it to Barb, stuffed it and gave it to Barb as a thank you. And Barb was like, "I love it." And then Paul was like, "I knew you would," because of course Barb isn't going to say, "I hate it," or "I don't like this," because, you know, it's Paula's she's trying. Paula's trying. Tigress is trying. And I really love that about Crusher and about Paula, is that they're really trying to reform for their daughter, and not just for their daughter, but for the sake of like people that gave them a chance, like Barb and Pat and Courtney and everybody. So it's just, I really do love that they're trying. And, with everything else going on in this episode, we have, of course, some more stuff between how we have Courtney and we have Rick and we have Yolanda and we have Beth all going out back to the trailer to find out some more, an insight of like, okay, is there any DNA or any blood splatter from when that whoever dropped, tried to kill Sylvester? Is there anything there? And they were able to find a cell, and of course Beth and of course Dr. Mcknighter were able to find out that it was actually from a cell from Dragon King, thinking that Dragon King is back. But I was like, I highly doubt Dragon King is back because he died at the hand of Cindy. So there's no way that Dragon King is back. I was like, there's no way. I was like, if anything, I could, because we kept coming back to Cindy, and she was kind of like having a weird issue with her arm. It was kind of going all out of whack. And it turns out, from what I can tell, it's like Cindy is turning into Dragon King, essentially, from what I'm understanding. And that's going to be very interesting. I don't know if she is doing that on purpose. I don't know if it's happening by accident. Maybe that was a failsafe. If Dragon King died, he knew maybe that there was a way to take over his daughter's body. Who knows? I'm very interested to see where this is going to go, on the fact of like that scale was from Cindy, and I kind of saw Cindy's face too when Beth found some, DNA. I saw Cindy's face. I was like, wait a second. I'm like, is that from Cindy? Because when we found out it was Dragon King, I'm like, there's no way it's Dragon King. That must have been from Cindy, because that face that she was making. Because I thought I saw Cindy make a face like, oh shit, they found DNA. And I was like, oh no. So essentially, I think my sister was right. I do think that maybe Cindy is behind the killings probably. And it's going to really bum me out if that's the case. Because I really don't think it is Cindy. I feel like maybe the DNA was there from when she went to go get the computer, maybe. But then again, who knows? Because who's the person that's keeping an eye on all of them? Maybe there's a chance that it could have been Cindy's, but maybe there's a chance that Dragon King maybe didn't die. Who knows? Maybe it could be both, that she is turning into like Dragon King essentially, and Dragon King could still be back, maybe isn't dead, and maybe he's the one that's looking at the cameras and stuff. Who knows? Because I feel like it couldn't be Cindy behind the killing of the gambler. And maybe maybe she did that by accident, because she maybe knew about like how the gambler had some information about Dragon King. Maybe, that was an accident and she ended up getting the thing. Or maybe she just got out of control because something is happening to her, and maybe Dragon King never died. Who knows? I'm just excited to see where this is all gonna go, because I feel like Cindy, that definitely isn't Cindy the one that's looking in the cameras. That has to be either A, if Dragon King actually is back, or B, maybe it could, because we still don't know when we're getting Mr. Bones and he's actually the villain of the season. So I'm excited to see if that maybe that's actually him and he's behind everything, because I feel like if he's the villain, how come it's taking him a minute to be the villain? So in all seriousness, I still don't know who's behind all this crap, but I'm very curious to know who do you guys think is behind everything here. But of course, we end up getting a scene with Courtney and Cameron, and this is of course the scene we've been seeing in the trailers where like there's snow and Cameron and Courtney end up kissing and stuff like that, and you know what I mean, or about to kiss. I can't quite remember if they kissed or not, because I think I was looking away from the TV at the time, so you guys might have to let me know down in the comments below if they almost kissed but they didn't kiss. I'm not quite sure. All I know is that I'm really not a fan of the whole Cameron and Courtney thing, but I do see how it's good for the story, because it's kind of like we know at this point that, of course, that Cameron's grandparents clearly didn't tell him about, because we get the understanding from the moment where like Courtney goes in to see Cameron in the art room, and pretty much Cameron's like, I'm done with art, you know what I mean? I'm leaving it aside, because his grandparents took the art from him, saying you need to put the art aside and focus on the mission. And pretty much they're kind of like trying to turn Cameron into his father. And that's why they were keeping out certain aspects of what happened about who killed him, and also like I feel like other things about him being in the ISA and certain things, because in the way I feel like his grandparents are kind of trying to fix Jordan's mistakes through Cameron about not telling him about the ISA, so will build up a new team, because they don't want him making the same mistakes about how Jordan brought in other people and they ended up making his plan bad and it didn't go the way, you know what I mean? Like maybe they're trying to course correct and trying to fix the mistakes of how like Jordan made the ISA, how Jordan, had, like trying to fix the mistakes through Cameron. So we clearly know that the grandparents haven't told Cameron about the JSA killing Jordan, because I feel like, you know, maybe they think that maybe once that got out, maybe Courtney would say something or something. I don't know why they didn't tell him, which is still very weird that they didn't tell him who killed his father, because maybe that would even entice him more to like follow through with this mission. But who knows really what the mission is exactly of what they're really trying to make him do, Cameron. So I'm just excited to see where that's all going to go. But the fact that when he said he was like done with art and all that stuff, and you know, of course Courtney's like, oh, why are you done with art? You can't be done with art. You know, this is what you're good at and stuff like that. And of course that's when Cameron goes berserk, ends up almost hurting Courtney. And of course Courtney's like, you know, I'm not afraid or whatever. And he's like, oh, I could have hurt you, Courtney. Are you sure you're okay? And pretty much like, how are you not afraid of me right now? I mean, you're just some normal person. Like, how come you're not afraid? And it's like, you know, no, Courtney's not normal. She's a part of the JSA. She is Stargirl. You know what I mean? She's been around people that have powers before. That's why she's not scared. She has powers herself. It's kind of like, you know, there's only so many things where I feel like Cameron could be like, okay, this is actually, I know you're like, there must be something bigger here that you're just not scared. And I feel like maybe he'll put 2 and 2 together and find out, okay, you are Stargirl. Okay, you're Wildcat, Our Man, and Beth. I mean, and Dr. Midnight are Beth, Rick, and Yolanda. I feel like he'll kind of put those pieces together probably, because I feel like if Courtney doesn't tell Cameron soon about her and the JSA and tell him about, okay, your father and ISA, you know, your father was actually trying to hurt people. He was part of the ISA. He built this team and all this, and tell him about all the stuff he's done in the ISA, Jordan. I feel like it's going to backfire in her face, and he's going to become the villain the next season. So it's really, and like time will tell on what she decides to do, if she will tell him in time or not, before his Cameron's grandparents kind of like manipulate him into thinking, and maybe telling, because maybe I have a feeling where like they're going to see that Cameron's spending a lot of time with Courtney, and then that's when to keep him on the right path, that's when they'll tell him, no, Courtney is a part of the JSA, and the JSA killed your father. And then that will turn him against Courtney, and he will become the villain of next season. I feel like because I feel like the one thing that the show is very lacking right now is that we don't have the Injustice Society anymore. And that kind of annoys me that we don't have like the villain group anymore. I kind of wish we spent a little bit more time with the villains before we kind of got to this point. But I like how we're at this point. I'm okay with it, but I'm really craving another ISA again, another Injustice again, and team again, because we need a team versus another team again. That's what I want to see, because those fight sequences are very fun to see, team versus team and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that, you know, eventually, that I feel like that this is just eventually going to happen. It's bound to happen, where like, you know, the grandparents will see that Cameron is really getting close to Courtney, and Courtney's kind of like is making Cameron go back to doing his art and go back to actually wanting to do the right thing, and maybe Courtney will try to recruit Cameron to the JSA, and of course the grandparents aren't going to like that, and then they're going to stop him to stop him from getting close to Courtney even more. They're going to tell him, okay, Courtney is the one, maybe Courtney's the one that killed your father, or Courtney is a part of this JSA that killed your father, and stuff like that. I feel like it's just bound to happen, where it's not going to go the way Courtney's going to want it to go, unless Courtney tells Cameron about everything that's going on before he makes rash decisions. And I feel like that's one thing Courtney might regret, is not telling him soon enough, and he becomes a villain. Who knows? I'm just excited to see who's behind everything. If actually Dragon King is dead, what's going on with Cindy? These are just questions I really want to know. Like, what's going on with Cindy? Is Dragon King actually back? Who is the one looking in the cameras and stuff like that? It could be Mr. Bones. Could it be actually Dragon King if he's not dead? Who knows? Also, that one scene where Pat gives, you know, where Sylvester's actually at the point was like thinking about, I'm retiring, I'm done. And we know Pat was working on a new suit for Sylvester. He gives that suit to Sylvester in this episode, and that was really badass. It was the same exact suit, but it was really cool to see him have a suit again. And to see at this point where, you know, Courtney is out with, of course, Cameron at this point, and we see Rick and Yolanda coming in to tell, you know, to tell Courtney, like, oh, we think Dragon King is back because Dr. Midnight and Beth found some the DNA that they found was from the Dragon King, and we think he's in the underground under Blue Valley right now, in the tunnels of Blue Valley right now. You know, where we're going to go down there and check. And then that's when Sylvester is like, okay, let me suit up. And that was really badass when he's like, okay, let me suit up. And we see in the promo him in his suit and him with Rick and Yolanda down in the tunnels underneath Blue Valley, which of course are the ISA tunnels, which they were using back in season 1. And even back in season 2, that's where, like, of course, that's where Cindy stays, back in the whole JSA, Injustice Society layer. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if, like, while Rick, Yolanta, and, of course, Sylvester are down there, maybe they run into Cindy down there and find out what she's trying to do down there. Maybe they find out, or maybe if Cindy's not in there, they'll find a laptop. And then that's when they will put 2 and 2 together and be like, okay, you know, or maybe they'll find some scales on the ground down in the Injustice Society layer. Who knows? I'm just excited to see where we're going to be going in episode 5, but it just sucks that we have to wait until October 5th, but it's going to be awesome when we do get that episode. I feel like we'll get the October 5th like that. I feel like, we're saying that we're going to be like, oh, damn, we have to wait a minute to watch it, but it's going to be there like that. Like, October 5th will be here before we know it. We're almost done with September, and, you know, we have some great things in the meantime. Before then, we have a lot of shows coming back on. In October, we have, of course, you know, All-American. We have All-American Homecoming. We have Superman and Lois coming sometime soon as well. You know, we just have a lot of things to look forward to, you know, coming in October. Also, you know, we have, you know, the new episode of She-Hulk tomorrow, which I'm hoping that it is the Daredevil episode, even though the clip today kind of makes me think that it wasn't, tomorrow isn't the Daredevil episode. But I did theorize that the Daredevil episode would either happen in 6 or 7. So if not in tomorrow's episode 6, it will happen in episode 7, which will be the next Wednesday, which stinks that we'll have to wait, but hey, we're going to get the Daredevil episode at some point. But guys, I'm really curious to know down in the comments below, what did you guys think about this episode? Did you guys like this episode? Did you guys not like this episode? Let me know. Are you guys bummed that we have to wait until October 5th for the next episode, which episode 5 looks so good. I'm excited to find out a little bit more about why Sylvester is acting the way he's acting. Maybe it could have something to do with the staff and how much the staff has been kind of giving him like this kind of like you know, energy, like kind of like this radioactive energy throughout all these years of him absorbing it, and the staff has been giving it to him. So it's kind of like maybe it has something to do with the staff. Maybe that's kind of like maybe why he's acting like this. Who knows? I'm really curious to know, who do you guys think is looking through the cameras? What do you guys think is going on with Cindy? Do you guys think Dragon King is behind this? Do you guys think she's trying to like save herself? Maybe she's like sick or something, and maybe she's just turning into Dragon King by accident. I'm really curious to know down in the comments below what you guys think. And yet again here, if you are new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. Yet again, guys, we're almost to 600 subscribers. That is the goal, to get to 600. So yet again here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video, because it really helps out with the channel. When you guys like a video, when you guys subscribe to the channel, when you guys put on the notifications, it helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps build this channel up. So yeah, I just really appreciate it, guys. And also, don't be afraid to talk down in the comments below. I love talking to you guys and talking to you guys about what we love, what we love here is Stargirl. And, you know, I really want to know what your thoughts and your opinions are, and what your theories are for going forward in the season, and going forward, and, you know, in the next episode, and even in tonight's episode, what you thought about it and stuff. But yeah, guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.